The flickering light of the projection room buzzed against the steady hum of the film reels, drowning the silence with the mechanical drone that had become part of Enid's life. For years, she had sat in that cold, dim chamber, surrounded by shadows of cinematic violence. Her work was simple, or at least it seemed so to the outside eye, watching horror films and deciding what was safe for the public to see. She was the gatekeeper, the final wall between lurid exploitation and the fragile minds of the audience. To her, every cut of the blade, every scream caught on tape, every drop of artificial blood had to be judged and trimmed, made tame enough for release. But Enid knew better than anyone that horror had a way of seeping off the screen and into reality. On that particular night, she sat stiffly in her chair, her glasses reflecting the grainy image projected on the wall. A girl was screaming, blood pooling around her face as a masked man dragged her into the woods. The screams were shrill, realistic enough to make her chest tighten. She leaned closer to the screen, frozen, her eyes darting between each detail. The dirt, the trees, the desperate whimpers, it felt too real. Her hand hovered over the stop button, her lips parting. Then the girl's voice cracked into a choking sob, and Enid slammed the control panel. The image froze on the girl's terrified eyes, wide and pleading. Enid leaned back, her heart racing. She recognized something in those eyes. A haunting familiarity that tugged at a buried memory. Her sister's face. Decades had passed since her sister, Nina, vanished from their lives. The official reports claimed she was lost in the woods, a disappearance no one could solve. Her parents had turned to silence, burying the past under routines, while Enid carried the guilt like a second skin.
She had been with Nina that day.
She had been the last one to see her alive. And now, sitting in that room full of artificial screams and fake murders, Enid thought she saw her sister trapped inside a horror film. The next day, the news only worsened her fragile grip on reality. A murder was being linked to one of the films Enid had passed for release. A man had copied the killing frame by frame, dragging his victim into the woods in exactly the same manner. The press descended like vultures, and Enid's name was whispered as the censor who had allowed it. Her parents' disapproval cut deeper, their cold eyes accusing her without words. Her mother, in a rare confrontation, said, "You always had a vivid imagination, Enid. Maybe it's time you stop living in horror and come back to the real world." But to Enid, the real world and the horror tapes had already begun to merge. That evening, she revisited the tape. She replayed the screams, the desperate cries, pausing on the girl's face over and over. She couldn't shake it. She was certain the actress was Nina. The shape of her mouth, the quiver of her lip, even the faint scar on her cheek. Every frame screamed of recognition. She needed answers. Enid tracked down the production company, one of the sleazy underground outfits that thrived on gore-filled exploitation films. The director, Doug Smart, was infamous for pushing boundaries of violence, a man who relished in outrage. His films were whispered about, banned, and sometimes burned, yet collectors craved every release. When Enid showed up at his studio, she was met with flashing neon lights and the stench of stale beer. Doug, smirking with a cigarette in his hand, looked her over like she was another character in his twisted imagination. "I know that girl," Enid insisted, slamming a VHS cassette on the table. "The one in your film. Where is she? What's her name?" Doug laughed, leaning back in his chair. "They're all just actresses, love. No one real. You censors, you see ghosts where there are none." But Enid pressed harder, her voice shaking. "She's my sister. I need to know." Doug's smirk faltered, his eyes narrowing slightly. He waved to a shelf stacked with reels. "If you really want to see where the line blurs, you should watch my next picture. That's where the real truth lies." The words clawed at her. Enid left with the reel he handed her, her hands trembling as if she were holding evidence of something forbidden. Back in the projection room, she threaded the film and pressed play. The images spilled onto the wall, darker, grittier, more unsettling than anything she had seen before. A cabin in the woods, a masked man with a gleaming axe, and then the girl, her face unmistakable, her voice quivering. Enid, the name whispered from the screen like a ghost's breath. Enid stumbled back, gasping. She was certain now. Nina was alive, or at least she had been. The film was no longer fiction. It was a record. A snuff film. Her obsession consumed her. Sleep abandoned her nights. Food lost all taste. She visited archives, contacted crew members, but every lead twisted into dead ends. Whispers told her that actors vanished on set, swallowed whole by productions that cared nothing for their safety. Some rumors claimed the directors filmed real murders, hiding truth within reels of gore. And if Nina was caught in one of these productions, then Enid's life had been built on a lie. Her descent reached its breaking point when she forced her way back to Doug's smart studio during a late-night shoot. The set was eerily quiet, lit only by spotlights casting long shadows. Actors stood frozen, drenched in fake blood, while cameras rolled endlessly. Doug greeted her with that same smirk, only now it felt more sinister. "You're just in time for the finale," he said. Enid pushed past him, her eyes scanning the set until they landed on the actress. The girl's resemblance to Nina was uncanny. Her cries for help pierced through Enid's bones. Without thinking, Enid grabbed a prop axe from the set, rushing forward. Her world collapsed into chaos, screams, scrambling actors, the blur of reality and fiction twisting into one. She struck, certain she was rescuing Nina, certain that she was ending the nightmare. When the lights dimmed and the cameras stopped, silence fell. The cast lay strewn across the floor, real blood mixing with fake. The actress Enid thought was Nina lay lifeless, her eyes glassy and unrecognizing. Doug was slumped against the wall, his smirk replaced with terror.